Hey, friends, welcome back. This is Stacking Pennies Championship Edition, talking to a champion himself. Ryan Flores, front tire changer of Ryan Blaney's Ford Mustang, wrapping up his championship day. We also crowned Cole Custer, who we talked to on Saturday night, and Ben Rhodes. A ton of stuff to get into right here on Stacking Pennies. Buckle up. We are presented by Mobile One.
Stacking them deep, selling them cheap.
It tastes like gasoline, rubber, and victory.
We're just out here stacking pennies.
And we're in it. Big day, guys. Holy moly. Let's just get right to it. I'm joined by one of my best friends, if not the best friend I have. And now he is a 2023 Cup Series tire changing champion, Mr. Ryan Flores.
What a couple days it's been.
Let's freaking go. Round of applause.
Sounds good. Yay. Oh,
You look like a champion.
I feel like one.
You still look a little hungover.
I don't go too hard on the alcohol. I'm not very good at it, but I knocked down a stogie.
Did you?
Yeah.
Little championship.
Oh yeah.
Cigar, huh?
Yeah, they rented out a bar in Westgate there, where we all stay in Phoenix, and I think Blaney had a puke and rally.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a couple. My carrier Trevor Apsey, he's a pretty built guy. He had his button-down shirt all the way unbuttoned at one point. Just
was Roger there getting a little wild?
Roger wasn't there. Everybody else was. It was a good time. Yeah, it wasn't too it was a good time without being too much of a good time. It didn't get too crazy. But
yeah, flew back yesterday.
You land and just got smacked right in the face with powder coat oven was broke. So I went there and fixed that. But yeah, I think that's been the biggest thing. So I was fortunate enough to be on the car in 2011 with Tony Stewart when we won the championship. I didn't have as much of an impact on that car as like changing tires or anything. So it was definitely different, but it felt like, being 23 at that time, like you're going to win the championship and everything's going to be different the next day. Like everything's like the world is a different place and you wake up Monday and it's just Monday.
It's just the same.
It's like, yeah. And I think that's
some pride in it.
Yeah. And like, here 12, 13 years later to win again and kind of just the road to get here and the win as a tire changer. It's just like, I just feel more of like a sense of accomplishment and kind of almost like a weight's lifted off your shoulders.
So we can get right into your day. But let's talk about a little bit of the emergence of Ryan Blaney. We talked about it a little bit in previous shows, but you and I talk about it a lot and a lot of guys, Kyle Petty had some sharp words earlier in the season, compared Ryan Blaney to Casey Kane. And I would agree with him at that point of the season. He had some valid points. But I think halfway through the playoffs, was there a distinct point where there's a little bit of maturation, a little bit of closing out the day when the 12 car has speed? Because last year you didn't win a race besides the All-Star race, won the most amount of stages but couldn't get in victory lane. Big difference between last year and this year's playoff run.
Yeah, I think closing out the 600 was a big deal from start to finish, because I think even Kyle was pretty honest with me when he came in and did Stacking Pennies. He said, y'all got to figure out how to finish races off. And I think that when I look at the season as a whole, like we get into the playoffs and Texas, Ryan, we had a decent day and Ryan sped on pit road on the last pit stop, then ended up wrecked. And I think that was kind of a watershed moment for him. Like, hey, am I going to take the bull by the horns here and get this back? Or, am I going to let this playoff hope disappear? And we go to Talladega with one goal and knew that we were there to win the race and just executed the day flawlessly. There was a point in time in that day, the only flaw we had in the whole day was a missed block in the second stage, and we didn't get stage points in the second stage. And we just reeled it back in. Ryan reeled it back in. He got a little frustrated, reeled it back in, and went on and won the race. And it was like, hey, we came here knowing we could win this race, knowing we needed to win this race, and we did it. And then, Vegas was strong, Homestead was strong, and then obviously Martinsville was just impressive. But like, it's impressive to win, but to score points in every stage of the round of 8 well, we scored points in every stage in the last 4 races. And that just shows the overall strength of the team. That means you're not, losing track position or having bad stops. So yeah, it was, as far as Ryan goes, I think just finishing off Talladega and being like, hey, we're doing this.
Well, that was part of the conversation, or some of the topics that the media was really poking on with that, with Team Penske in general, lacking a lot of pace. And it was almost like a survive in advance. Joey talked about it last year. They didn't have a lot of pace throughout the course of the year and timed it right towards the end of the playoffs. And Ryan kept harping on it, particularly in his post-race interviews after Phoenix, was they got hot at the right time. They a lot of hard work by Jonathan Hassler, the crew chief over there, who had a pretty good quote. I sent him a lawsuit for trying to steal stacking pennies. Sitting there next to Roger Penske, talking about how what was he referring to? Just details on the course of the year, right?
Dude, you know the car, right? Like, I think when Roush went on their kind of run in the 17, won 3 races or whatever it was like, hey, stop blaming it on the car. These guys have the same thing. Let's go. And I think it was kind of a wake-up call for everybody. But yeah, he said you just stack pennies become nickels become dimes, then all of a sudden you have dollars, which is why the name of this show is what it is. That's so much of what cup racing is, especially now that we all have the same parts and pieces. It's just little stuff
everywhere,
little stuff. So, it's everywhere. It's from the racetrack to pit road to in the garage area during the week. It's just a little bit everywhere.
So you mentioned before we started rolling here, it feels like a weight is off your shoulder. I'd imagine a weight probably feels like it's off of Blaney's shoulder as well. But what's the overall sentiment behind that 12 teams mindset after the checker flag was over?
Yeah, so it's just been a ton of work, and I think that's why Hassler, said that, the stack and pennies thing, because like when I got put on this car last year in the middle of the season, it was kind of everybody was a little bit at each other's throats, and there just wasn't like a winning culture around it, right? The culture was like what Kyle Petty said, like, yeah, they're gonna run good, but they're gonna fold up from top to bottom, and the people on this team have all won championships. They've all been super successful. And it was just it's so easy to become like a road crew and a pit crew separated, and you don't really ever spend time together. But to be in the same shop, like Hassler's brought everybody together. We work out as one team on Wednesdays, and Blaney's been around a lot. And it's just getting together and humanizing each other, right? That way it makes it so much easier when you do have a tough stop or you don't have the fastest car that weekend or something. You're inevitably through a 38-week season going to have your downtimes, and that's when the strength of your team is tested. And then also when you're in a championship run, that's when the strength of your team is tested, because that's when you got to realize who has everybody's back. And who has everybody's back, like if I think the guys behind the wall have my back and they know that I have their back, we're all going to be better.
That's right.
And the same thing with Blaney too. Like there was points in time where like the conversation's been had, like, hey man, if we have a bad stop, like we know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We didn't want to have a bad stop.
We know. And that's, and you also have to know, like Ryan, to know Ryan, you got to know Dave. And they're like very quiet, unassuming guys. But everybody found out again this weekend when he flipped Ross Chastain off and kind of let him have it on the radio. There's a lot of fire in there when that dude puts his helmet on.
Well, it's a competitor, right? I mean, everybody kind of handles the pressure. Everybody kind of handles the emotions you feel driving a race car a little bit differently. And I'll say this, he's pretty consistent. Whether it's a good day or bad day, Ryan Blaney is fired up on the radio.
Dude, always. It's funny because it comes up like 3 or 4 times a year. People are like, man, Blaney really gets after on the radio.
It's every week.
I saw a chart of F-bombs throughout this season. I guess there's somebody that live tweets the radio. Because they go on the NASCAR app and listen to it, and they live tweet it. And the F-bombs on the radio. It's Blaney was down like 0.1%. He was down, but
for this season.
Yeah, but our spotter Josh Williams was up quite a bit, and Hassler was at 0. He's got in 3 years. Hassler has 1 F-bomb.
Oh, I had a couple this week. I generally try.
Yeah, what was going on?
We just ran like a bro.
How much in your head when your car wasn't fast was like, okay, don't wreck? because we got to finish this off.
Not much. I was just trying to drive it as fast as I could so I can see if there was any potential speed in it. There just wasn't. We struggled with the handling from practice, trying to get some rear grip built into it. Couldn't get a handle on it, and didn't make any really positive gains in the race, and just legitimately raced AJ Allmendinger for like second to last all day. So it sucked to finish off the year like that, because I feel like we have done everything in our control really well. The stat of, I thought we were one of like 30 that went all year without a DNF. I guess we were one of only 15.
Oh, wow.
That have ever went the entire season with no DNF, which I think that bodes super well for our team, and just the ability to prepare cars that are reliable. And there's one thing riding around dead last and finishing all the races, but we were in the mix. Several career bests, more laps led by probably 200% than every other year in my career. Several top 10s. So every measurable stat for our 7 team this year is better. And that's just like literally what we talked about, stacking pennies. So we're just doing the small details right, finishing races. Unfortunately, we ended on a down note, but trying to really be positive of our team, because we should celebrate the season we had. It's been better than pretty much everybody that's worked at our team. Spire's best year by far. My best year as a driver by far. Sparks' best year as a crew chief by far. So, like, it is hard to celebrate those small things, but it's the things we set out to do, and they were lofty goals when we set them, but when we achieve them, it's like you get acclimated to those goals, and it's like, hang on a second. We were nowhere near as good as we are right now last year.
Yeah.
So let's not, like, forget about the progress we made. So trying to keep that in perspective has been somewhat challenging this week, especially now that we feel like we're a top 20 team every week. To end like that is frustrating, but there's a NASCAR organization test December 5th and 6th, so we'll be able to cut some laps at Phoenix. Phoenix, yeah.
Everybody's going?
No. There's probably 6 teams going.
Okay.
Trying the new up-down splitter, some different tire combinations, some different diffuser combinations for our car, and just for me to cut some laps at Phoenix. That's been our kind of our Achilles heel.
I love the talk. Like, you hear a lot of stuff like, well, like talking about deserving champions, but like if talking about testing, that's what makes me think of it, is everybody's like, well, if Blaney makes the Phoenix, he's good there, so it's going to work out for him. And it's like, well, hell, everybody knows we're going to Phoenix for the last race. It's been on the schedule.
Right.
Like, but yeah,
all year.
Like, Ryan Blaney wasn't just born being good at Phoenix.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work, right? And that's where, like, I loved so much last week when the Lucky thing came up, right? Because that's it. Like, that next year at Phoenix, it's gonna
that's where we finish.
If the 7 car has a chance to win a championship,
you got to be good there.
You have to be good there. Everybody knows that, and it depends on how you work at it, right? No one's gonna go, well, we have no shot at winning the championship because my driver's not real good at Phoenix.
Yeah, nobody thinks
that's not a thing.
You put freaking hours on the simulator until your retina's burn out to try to get better at it and find little nuances about it. But yeah, I still laugh about that question, because somebody that would ask, or somebody that would insinuate luck getting that 12 team to the championship 4 hasn't put the work in themselves, and chalks it up to luck. Yeah. There's nothing lucky about it. You put yourself in the right positions to be at the on the positive side of breaks, right? Whether it's pace, whether it's positioning on the racetrack, whether it's preparation, all of that doesn't happen by chance.
Well, it's like, I come back to the thing you told me years ago, is those who know. The ones who know will know. And like, the fans are always going to roast you, right? Like,
yeah,
I'll go on Twitter and they'll be like, yeah, but you lost a spot to the 5 on the last stop. I'm like, yeah, sure did. Like, also did a 9.9, and they were 0.3 better on the stop, and I think half second better. It was like half and half better on rolling time. They were better than the 24 on rolling time, which Kyle Larson is super aggressive getting to pit road. We saw that at Homestead, and dude, we were down there in pit stall 38, so you could see everybody entering the track.
Was that him that was blocked all 4 tires up smoking?
He almost blew the 24's back bumper off again.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to him
no
and
barrels
Cliff.
to hit.
Yeah, I was talking to him and Cliff after the race, and I was like, yeah, I saw you almost ass-packed the 24. And Cliff was like, I didn't even have to look at the TV. I knew you were going to do that again. It was just so funny. But But yeah, the emotions of like that money stop though.
What'd that feel like, dude?
I think if I was
because you guys were probably one of the first cars to peel off.
Yeah, so it was kind of like peaceful back there because really there was just buses. Like if you're on the backstretch,
especially down
buses, and there was just like one lady standing on her bus. But if you turned around and looked towards the pit box, and there was an opening in front of us, and it was packed, and there was one lady that was like, "Gah!" like freaking out the whole race. I don't know how she kept this energy the whole race, but
caution drop, what, 15 to go maybe?
I think it was like 30.
Okay.
But it was like
now are you guys on your open comments be like, all right, boys, this is it.
So let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a good stop. It wasn't a great stop, but that's what. And I took a little bit of offense to Todd Gordon on Inside the Race this week. They said what Steve Letarte asked him, what are your quarrels with the 12? And he said the pit crew. It's not a bad pit crew, but like they just don't have the pace like the 5 car does. And Steve Letarte said, yeah, these guys are a diesel engine. They just keep chugging. They're not gonna, they're not gonna do the fastest pit stop. They're not gonna hold that record, but they're gonna keep you in the race. And I go back to like when I first got into changing tires. That's what my point I'm going with is when as a pit crew, you sometimes you chase that number or you want to be the best on pit road. The Hendrick cars have been better than everybody all year long. Nobody's been able to match their pace consistently. It was their 4 cars and then the rest of the field. Then you give them pit stall 1 and pit stall 6 were the 2 of the best pit stalls at Phoenix. But our goal, and I go back, I heard something the other day that said, really when you're nervous, you're just anxious. It's just anxiety. And I heard that anxiety and gratitude live in the same place of your brain. So you can't have both at the same time. So what it had been for me this week, instead of being anxious about it, it was just like really reflecting on like the journey it's been to get here, why I started, right? Like when that caution comes out, I don't go, oh,
yeah.
I go,
I put a lot of work
This is why you started.
Yeah.
Like when we were working out above the seat shop and I was at Roush hitting lug nuts at lunchtime, like when they wouldn't even give me a shot to do anything
What was
there.
that, 2008?
2007, 8. Like I went 2007, 8, 9, and 10 in the pit practice area by myself. Like I wasn't even part of the pit crew. I just built side skirts and crush panels in the fab shop, and I was like, hey, I want to be a tire changer too. And they were like, yeah, you can't do that. You'll never do that. And there was like one guy, Rodney Fetters, who I actually just texted. Good stat. He pitted for you and your dad. Him and Brad Robinson. Him and Brad Robinson, who's the gas man emoji from Roush. They helped me out a lot. The guy who's like their athletic director was like, who are you? Like that's what he said to me. Like that's where I was in my tire change career. He's like, yeah, okay, man. See ya.
Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
Bye. So I just regularly reflect on that and those times in the pit stop area, and then going to Stewart Haas and getting the chances. And I go back to Cheddar Bob, who's longtime car chief on the 4 car, and he was our gas man on the 39 with Ryan Newman before he was a car chief. And he would always say, when I first got on that car, I was probably in a little over my head, and we were right away in the playoffs, and he would say, keep him in the race, give him a chance. Just give him a chance. We don't have to be superheroes, just give him a chance. And that's kind of how we approached this year. We had been through so much on the 12. We lost a race every single way you could ever draw up. We could write a book on how to lose a race, whether it be on pit road, on the track, whatever it is, right? So it's like, okay, we are going to be the most solid pit crew on pit road. We are going to keep them in the race. We're going to give them a chance, and we're going to come out, within 1 or 2. We're going to, gaintain, either come out within 1 or 2 of where we came in. And on the last stop, we know we did a good one, and we put the ball in his court. Yes, the 5 beat us, and we almost beat the 1 car out. We were to their door numbers. And the 24, you're not going to beat them in pit stall 1. Like, they were such fast. On the average on the day, we were 4th or 5th. I think the 5 car was 2nd, and the 24 was 1 behind us, 5th or 6th. So, like, we had a championship day on pit road. It's just everybody put so much stock into that last pit stop because the 5 car won the race there. Well, like, yeah, the 5 car's pit stop at Phoenix that year when the championship was badass, but they don't win it without having pit stall 1.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that pit stall 1 is such a huge advantage at Phoenix. They might need to move the line.
Let's move it to box 2.
Yeah,
Hey.
I don't know. Like,
I like the fact that it's the advantage. If you
I do too.
You qualify in the pole, that ought to set you up with not a full step forward, but like a half step forward on the field.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on if you have the pole or not. If it's an advantage,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's
or
right.
if you're racing the guy that's on the pole. But yeah, it was. When we sat down at the beginning of the year, that was our goals, and we executed our goals and won us a championship. So there's like no better feeling than that.
Talking about executing goals, and we're talking about a couple guys. Obviously, we're talking about the champions right now, but let's shift gears. A couple guys who weren't even in the championship 4. You mentioned Cheddar Bob, car chief on that 4 car. Kevin Harvick's last race. My man was looking like he was going to steal the show for a second.
Dude, I thought he was.
He lapped me. I'm like, get it. Go.
He drove up there and passed the 24. I was like, damn, Harv.
So that was cool to see. I think the track changed and it didn't really play. Did anything happen on pit road? Or
I think they might have lost a little bit of track position on pit road, but their car, there's cars like when it's so good in clean air and you get behind, it's so good in clean air that you get a stop or 2 behind on adjustments once you get in traffic. And
then you just can't get back.
There's just not enough pit stops to make it better.
God, I would love to see Harvick roll out deuces with the win, but where do you end up finishing?
I don't know. He was in
6.
He was in the top 10.
Well, I think he's finishing the top 10, 35 races in a row for the last 12 years?
There was a stat during the race that said the last time Harvick finished outside the top 10 at Phoenix, none of the championship 4 had even made a cup start yet.
That is unbelievable.
That is dude.
Like, every race that you go to Phoenix, Kevin Harvick is going to finish in the top 10.
He should have won the first one here this year.
That might be one of the all-time greatest stats in NASCAR history.
Yeah, definitely an overlooked one.
Certainly, to be top. I think, I'm sure Richard Petty, he win like 40 times at North Wilkesboro or something like that. But Kevin Harvick, modern-day NASCAR, top 10 in, I don't know, it was like 22 or 23 in a row. That's unbelievable. Let's read just Kevin Harvick's stats real quick. 23 Cup seasons, 60 wins, 31 poles, 16,058 laps led, and 1 Cup Series championship in 2014. He's won all the crown jewels: Daytona 500, Southern 500, Brickyard 400, Coca-Cola 600. Where do you list him in the all-time greats?
As far as like guys, I mean, I would say he's in the
7th?
I would say he's in the top 10, top 12 for sure for me.
He's top 10.
Yeah.
Do you put him ahead or behind Tony Stewart?
I'd probably put Tony ahead of him, just because he's won more championships. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'd want either one of them driving my race car. If I had a race car, I'd want either one of them driving it. So I don't know. I'd have to look at stats, but like just my brain right off the bat, I would say I'd go with Tony, but hell, Kevin Harvick ain't no slouch.
He ain't no slouch. I do think that the garage and driver's voice is gonna certainly realize his absence. He's been super vocal in the meetings, just about the progression and the places that they want to take the sport, whether it's aero packages or tires or just overall, I don't know, driver star power, if you will. But it's going to be super cool to have him in the booth. I think he's going to really bring some energy and some seriousness to that Fox broadcast, which I'm excited to see. But I think if I'm Stuart Haas, I'm worried about that guy leaving too, because that guy is a boat rower for sure. He's a captain, if you will, keeping everybody straight. So it's going to be a pretty inexperienced driver lineup over at SHR. And when you lose one of the top 10 greatest drivers of all time, a lot of big shoes to fill over there.
Thank God they got that cool-looking Mustang for next year, because that thing looks like it's got some downforce.
Dude, them fenders are gnarly.
Yeah, but like it looks cool, and they admit they had an issue this year, so I'm sure that they didn't make it worse.
Yeah,
but
what do you got any good Harvick stories? I got a good one.
No, Kevin Harvick was a mother pit around. He would run your heels over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Snatch
but
them
like
ankles.
but like you just kind of knew it was coming. So that I really never really talked to him until that day in your dad's office, since he's been coming around with Keelan getting seats fitted and stuff.
Yeah, we've been building a lot of seats for Keelan lately. I would say I've got several good Harvick stories, but Delana, Kevin's wife, was my dad's PR girl at Phoenix. So for James Finch, the one Bob Evans car in like 99, 2001, kind of in that range. So we've known each other for a long time. She's known me since I was a little kid, but we were having a hard time so Dad begged, borrows, and steals this car from some warehouse. It was an old Penske drop. Did I tell a story?
Yeah,
on the
you did.
podcast?
Yeah. You dropped
story.
it off over there. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Dad texted him or something. He calls the shop on like the landline at the shop. Hey, bring that thing up here and we'll finish it for you. So couldn't find spindles, couldn't find lower A-frames for it. Literally dropped it off. He had people build it, get all the parts for it.
Damn good car.
And it was a good car. I think we ended up finishing third with it. Blew up leading at Dover. So that thing was sporty. Then
He gave you a ride at Rockingham in one of his personal cars.
Let us borrow one of Ricky Carmichael's ARCA cars. So we got a motor from PME and we thrashed on it. Clutch was burned out.
I remember that clutch being burned out.
Practice. I think we missed practice.
Yeah, they were practicing it, and
we were at the
Wayno
shop.
was in the shop. Yeah, we were all in the shop putting a clutch in it.
Yeah, so we missed practice, and we ended up running like 11th or 12th. So that was pretty cool to do that. He's done a lot of stuff for me, but so much stuff for people that, doesn't make media. Another one I had, what was it? I don't know, I forgot, but I'm sure I'll say it another time. You guys heard that one. Kevin Harvick is a legend. Certified legend. And you know who else is certified legends? Them dogs.
Oh.
There was a dog that caught on fire this week.
Let's get into it.
Let's get right into it after this. All right, guys, it's time for some pit road boats and woes. Several woes and several dogs on pit road because we had 3 sets of championship dogs. Where you want to start?
Yeah. So, Xfinity guys, not doing a great job as pit road reporter, but I don't know who pits Ben Rhodes' truck. But good job to them. Yep, good job. The 00 Cole Custer's guys. They're a lot of the 14 guys.
Okay.
So the ones who have the world record pit stop, Dakota Ratcliffe, Shane Papaya. On Sunday, the ones who did that 8-4, Shane Papaya was the one that was absolutely going insane on pit road. So good for those guys. And then our group, we've talked about them. So yeah, dude.
Shout out those guys one more time.
My guys?
Yeah.
Trevor Apsey.
Dog.
Not the dog. We're not the dogs of the week.
No.
But they're dogs. Trevor Apsey, Carrier, Jordan Osinski, Jackman, Zach Price, 2-time champ, rear changer.
Who did he win championship with first time?
Joey.
Okay.
Yep. And Chris Conklin, Gasman.
Dog.
And I changed front tires.
Somewhat of a dog.
Some
old dog.
Be a dog. Don't need no cats. Meow. But yeah, that dude, the big one. So it was a bummer for the 20 car. They won the pit crew challenge on the 54 earlier in the year.
Do they do a good job on the broadcast of explaining why rotors blow?
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. I saw a cutaway car and
so they talk about cooling and get hot and get too cold and then pow.
If you look on Twitter, Parker Klingerman put it up and he's like, I don't know if Emmys get nominated for, but it was really good. And Letarte, Letarte is like second to none. He does like so good.
Dude. He crushes
so yeah, they do a good job with that. And it sounds like they just had, like, I go back and watch the first stop.
Not enough tape, right?
I watched the pit stops. It looks like they had really aggressive brake pads in it because all those guys, and it happened up and down pit road all weekend. All those guys fell in brake dust coming around the car. Like they tripped up in it. It happened even on our teams on the 22. Trevor slipped in it. There was a lot of brake dust, and then the pit stalls are like fresh concrete. So when it sits on there, it's just slick. But the one, dude, did you see the Xfinity race?
Yeah.
See Sammy Smith, the 18 car start on fire?
I was there watching outside the track, so I didn't have a screen to look at it. I was just listening to the MRN broadcast. Then I saw a video, and my man was on fire.
Ryan Zunk.
Dog of the week.
Dog, dude. Yeah, so Ray Hernandez, gas man, who went, sometimes fuel heads stick open or whatever, you go full Andrew Lackey, the gas man on 2-car, and just, there was obviously a big fuel spill, and there's a couple different angles on Twitter. We'll put them up on our Instagram here at Stack and Pennies as well, but come around, he sparks a lug nut on the left rear.
It's like it's in slow motion. Like when you hit that lug nut and there's that one spark, tink.
It sucks all the oxygen out of there. But
remember when he tried to catch me on fire?
Yeah.
This son of a bitch. We had, I don't know why we put a bonfire, like a big bonfire pit right next to the racetrack, but it was a great idea at the time. And after the race was all over, we had boxes and we had pallets and we had this. We're gonna have a big old bonfire. We stacked this thing, and it's a 6-foot high mountain of just stuff to burn. We also got the great idea. We got a couple extra gallons of methanol we put in these go-karts left over. So why not just make this thing a gigantic inferno, and we're dumping this gas. Well, this son of a bitch lights a piece of cardboard that was the size of about a half a sheet of paper, and he's holding it, and the flame is getting lower and lower. Meanwhile, Casey and I are still like dumping this gas. So it started to burn his fingers, and he flicks it, and it was like, I saw him do it, and it was like slow motion. As it like, I turn around, and literally, like you said, the damn oxygen.
Yeah, it was a big explosion. Not my proudest moment. You're like, why did you do that? I'm like, I didn't
want to burn my fingers.
But like, I literally could have thrown it anywhere else in the field other than the pit of gasoline. But
so that's what my man was standing in.
But like, so much of being a pit crew guy is just high level decision making and staying calm under pressure, right? So that's why Ryan Zunk starts on fire, then stands up, casually walks over the fireman, puts his arms up. He's like, "Hey, I'm on fire." Then he's like, "Hey, missed spot over here, my left hip." Then he just turns around, walks back to the left rear. The firemen are still spraying the ground. He looks back at them like, "Okay, stop. It's out." Tightens the wheel and they go on. So that, I mean, there ain't no other definition. If that ain't a dog on pit road, then I don't know what is.
That's the definition of a dog.
And that's what, like I said, that's what pit road is made of. That's what all of our dogs of the year have been. Go back to Charlie Plank and all the guys that have set fast pit stop times. The 6-car wins the Mechanics Wear Award. They've been a great pit crew all year long. They've had a ton of speed throughout the playoffs. So kudos to them on winning the Mechanics Wear Award, but also kudos to my man Ryan Zunk for hanging in there, starting on fire, not panicking. Hell, he's got a full beard. He's a grinder. He's
apparently
he's like me. He's not like an athlete type. He's a grinder. He's the guy that kind of, when he does fight, he's a really good 5-lug nut guy. He was at Roush for a while, and when they get in a bind and either have people hurt or penalized, he comes in and bails them out on 1 lug nut. So he's a good dude and definitely the dog of the week. So
it's a big honor. Last dog of the year.
Last dog of the week, and hell, we go out on fire, literally.
Might as well.
So
go out in a ball of flame.
We'll have some more dogs for you next year.
We're going to have some 2023. We're going to give some grades here. We're going to do some report card grades for several teams that we picked out right after this. See if y'all agree. And we're back. End of the year. You get a grade. That's what the teacher gives you.
Report card.
A report card, if you will. End of the year grade to see if you passed. Some guys did. Most guys did. Some guys didn't. We're going to start off with the 24. William Byron, coming to fruition in his career, if you will. He's growing a beard. He's also growing a hell of a career while he's at it. My man had a hell of a season. Let's read the stat line. William Byron, 25 years old, 6 dubs this year. He has won a race in the last 4 seasons, 15 top 5s, career high. 21 top 10s, also a career high. 4 poles, career high. Finished where? Second in the championship?
Third.
Oh, it was the 5, and then 24. I feel like I got to give William Byron an A. Maybe A+.
I agree with that. I think they graded themselves this week, and he gave himself like a B or something, but that's an A. That's an A+ year. I mean, you put yourself in position to win a championship. It's not, it's going to work out or it's not. One race a year, and absolutely.
Yeah, him and Rudy were the best. I mean, I think the most solid team throughout the course of the year.
Yeah.
They just didn't win the last race.
Yeah.
Next up, we got
Denny. 3 wins, 14 top 5s, 19 top 10s, and 4 poles. They had a hell of a year. But it's kind of the same thing that we've seen with Denny, right? Great. One of the greatest race car drivers ever do it. Probably one of the highest racing IQs we've ever seen, but the championship just eludes him. And that'll be another talking point next year.
Yep.
But it was also, I mean, obviously it didn't go as long. It was also a talking point with Kyle Busch for a long time. So he got it done.
See
if Denny can, but I'd give Denny's group.
How many more does he have, you think? I think he's got 2.
I would say like Kevin Harvick would have had more than he did, but he didn't. He's younger than Kevin Harvick, but you just never know when it's going to be done.
Never know. I want to do a head-to-head.
Okay.
A lot of chatter in the offseason. Tyler Reddick versus Kyle Busch. More or less swapping rides. I know it's not. Tyler Reddick essentially going from Chevy to Toyota, a JGR satellite team, and then Kyle Busch occupying his seat. Same amount of wins Kyle Busch had in that 8 car as Tyler Reddick had last year. But I felt like TR was a little more competitive than 8.
Definitely went further in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Kyle Busch, 3 wins, 5 top 10s, 10 top 5, 17 top 10s. What was the 45?
2 dubs, 10 top 5, 16 top 10s.
Yeah, so much of this, man, is about when your team gets hot, like we've been talking about. And it used to be, the season. They were hot for the season, but now I said it at the beginning of the playoffs. It's 3 weeks. Yeah. It's a 3-week cycle. And
when we left the West Coast swing, it looked like you just go ahead and give Kyle Busch the
Amen.
Trophy.
Amen.
That feels like it was 2 years ago. I mean, him and Randall were on one to start the season. Big dubs.
These years are getting longer. I'm telling you,
dude, it's a grind.
It's getting like I've said the word grind a lot, but it's definitely getting longer.
It's a freaking grind. So to start, we were just looking at it today, actually, in our comp meeting, from LA until, actually, there might be an off week in between LA and Daytona. From the Daytona 500, it's 22 straight weeks until that 2-week Olympic break in the summer.
Yeah,
and then you close it on out. But hey, we also know what we signed up for. But it is, I'm ready for the off season. I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready to rock.
I'd say when you look at the 8 and the 45, their success came at different times. Obviously, the 45 went a little bit deeper in the playoffs, but I'd say they had lateral years.
Think so?
Yeah, I would think so.
Tyler Reddick had a bump from last year.
He had a little bit more pace.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as when you just look at results, I think that they're both upset. I think Kyle Busch is a little bit more of a proven driver, so that his team is probably thinks they should have done a little bit more with it, with a champion and who Kyle Busch is, and Tyler Reddick, you would say, is still growing.
Yeah, and I think
team that's still growing.
Yeah, there was a couple instances wins they just gave away on pit road. Nashville wheel falls off leading the race.
Yeah,
a couple other times they were in contention and weren't able to get the job done. I would give the 45 a B-.
Yeah, I'd give him a straight B+.
6 in points. Yeah, let's give him straight B.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I'm going to see him next week down in Ireland. So I'm going to ask him.
I'm curious of what he would give a grade for himself. Let's also be specific. We're not going to give grades that are measured against the champion, right? I think we give grades on the execution and the overall success of that team versus the expectations.
Correct. Yeah, everybody's graded on a curve here.
Yep.
Here in the Stack and Pennies Lounge.
Here in the Stack and Pennies Lounge, the teachers are strict. What do you give Kyle Busch?
I just give them a B as well, or like a B. Yeah, like a B-. They just with Kyle Busch, you're graded on a curve.
No doubt. I mean, the guy's 3-time champ.
But RCR, when's the last time a driver won 3 races RCR other than last year with Tyler Reddick?
That's true. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Since the 2014 champ Kevin Harvick was there.
Yeah.
Kevin Harvick's final season.
Oh, man. Probably C.
Yeah, it's not good.
It just didn't close out. Like, the closer didn't close out. And it was just it was a little bit of everything.
He was 10 spots ahead of the other 3 cars in camp, and those guys were just rowing that boat as hard as they could. SHR just missed it.
Hey, yeah, Storehouse has a lot of work to do. Good for them for winning the Xfinity Championship.
2 years removed from congrats on the Xfinity Series Championship. 2 years removed from Kevin Harvick winning 9 races.
Yeah, man, it's hey,
it's next gen cars.
Hey, this ain't owned, it's rented, right? It's rented, and you got to pay rent every year. That's for sure.
And then the 07 car.
Yeah.
They asked me this question exactly. What grade do you give yourself? That's why I presented this for Stacking Pennies. I believe that was Jordan Bianchi who asked for our grades, and I will give him the same answer. I believe we had an A-, even though there were several races where we didn't meet our expectations. I think there was a lot of races that we met our expectations at least and then overachieved. So A-, I think there's lots of improvement for us to be had in terms of just pace. If we had the pace that we bring occasionally every 6-7 weeks, we'll bring like a heater to the racetrack. We saw Watkins Glen, we had pace, qualified in the top 10, had a leaky left front shock, had to start last at the hardest place on the schedule to pass. So we shot ourselves in the foot there. I spun out at Bristol when we qualified in the top 10, had a really good car there. So if we can bring those cars with pace more often, which I know we're capable of, I think we could have a Michael McDowell legitimately type season. Like he had this year. I think those guys obviously won Indy to get those guys, but those guys were just solid every week. And I think that our team is capable of that in the future as well, getting some more consistent teammates, a little bit of Trackhouse association with that Zane Smith car I think will help. Carson's obviously got a lead foot. He's going to come over there and extract some speed out of ours too.
Dude,
do you want to just get into the trucks?
Dude, what do you do with that kid?
Tell him not to wear his own T-shirts to the racetrack.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
Yeah,
I haven't been I haven't been really on the Carson Hosfar hate train by any means. There's been a lot of people on it, but dog, what are you doing?
Race going to the front like Daniel Flores says.
I heard a great.
Where are you going? Maybe go to the front.
You can tell that there's not a Ron Hornaday there to punch his kids in the face.
Yeah,
and I talked to.
Not a good look.
I was having a conversation with another driver this week that had a conversation with Ty Gibbs, and Ty Gibbs brought up a good point. He said, I've only raced against kids who pay for their rides and race this way, right? But if you look at it, right, even from super late models and up, there's nobody. I mean, you ain't gonna run into Bubba Pollard, right?
Or Matt McCall, or Jamie Yelton, right back in the day.
But those guys aren't an ARCA,
right?
Right, and these kids aren't going to. It doesn't seem like they're going to Nashville Fairgrounds to learn anymore. I mean, they stop there, but they're not doing it weekly enough to get into a quarrel with somebody.
Yeah.
But you go to ARCA, and it's not really that. And then the Truck Series really doesn't have that. I mean, I know Matt Crafton punched Nick Sanchez, but getting punched is one thing. But when you have I've heard Dale Jr. talk about it. When you have Terry Labonte show up at your bus, say, "Hey,
yeah,"
that's a different. Yeah. That's a different deal. Or you have, in the Cup Series, you have that with Kevin Harvick. You used to have it in the Xfinity Series a little bit more. Even Elliott Sadler brought that to the table in the Xfinity Series, and it's just not the elder statesmen that we used to have. Those series are just younger with funded drivers now, and it makes it tough for the kids to learn. But Hocevar is going to learn when he gets to the Cup Series if he keeps that up.
I mean, he's super fast.
And he's been in the Cup Series,
He's
though.
been in the Cup Series for, 8-10 races this year.
He plugged you in the fence somewhere?
He plugged me in the fence at Darlington. We talked about it as well, and I think that right after that was when he signed up to do our deal, so we just bared it and talked through it and kept it moving. But, yeah, I think there's going to be for everybody. There's just learning moments of etiquette and it's freaking hard, man. Trying to prove yourself, trying to drive a race car as fast as possible, trying to earn respect, not really caring if you have respect or not, but inevitably you have to generally race everybody to gain respect. And I think through a full-time season, it's a lot different jumping in somebody's car that you're borrowing and you're the fill-in guy and don't really have anything to lose in terms of points and not worried if you crash, not worried about your respect level because it's not your car, versus when it's your name on top of the door and it's your guys getting paid bonuses off of your how you meet your goals if you finish races, doing all the things. So
the pay-to-play model is more so I won, we lost, you fix it than anything, right? Like it's like if you're paying, if you're funding something and you're not like super invested into it, which I'm not saying that all these guys aren't, but like you're gonna race like you race a rental car at GoPro Motorplex, right? What's the difference? You're gonna go out there and use it up and send that guy off into the barriers and sorry, I'm trying to win.
That's right.
So yeah, it's tough, but you're gonna have your hands full with 2 rookie drivers next year. Zane's a little bit calmer.
Yeah, he's a little calm. I mean, I think both are going to be additions to our team, and just I'm glad I don't have to do all the sim work. I'll let those guys just go do
I love, though, like going back to, I remember Ty was getting crucified last year, and Joey stuck up for him. Joey said, it's really hard to be him, and I'll stick up for Hostvar on this front, even though he's messed up a lot. They're young guys. They're kids.
20, yeah.
And they're learning in front of a national stage. So when you mess up at Stafford, right, there's some eyeballs on it. But when you mess up on FS1 in the championship race, there's a lot more people talking about it.
Exactly.
And they're maturing in front of the nation. Yeah, and everybody has it. And that, hey, being a professional athlete, that's part of your job is you get criticized each week by people.
Everybody's got a phone.
That's it. You want to be a pro? It's part of being a pro. I get it. I get crucified every week on Blaney's pit crew.
Yep.
But those who know.
That's right. And then what about 12 team? Wrap it all off. Report card.
You win the championship, it's an A+. I'm not going to be one of the dweebs that sits here and like, well, it could have been a little faster if I got off the right front a little bit. No, we won the championship. It's A+.
That's right. See y'all next year.
Yep. Can come. If you don't think it's A+ year, I'll let you come see my ring when I get it.
That's right. Come on. It's shiny.
Yep. I'm done with all that.
What does it look like though? In terms of just like Team Penske parties.
Yeah.
Holiday parties. Does it look a little different now that you got the big trophy?
Yeah, for sure. Like last year I was so happy for my teammates on the 22, but I'm not going to lie, there was a little bit of me that was pissed off because I felt like it should have been our championship. And at the end of the year, when you don't win it, it's such a defeating, like just a defeated feeling of just like, oh, got to get back on the horse. Right. And I saw, we got on the plane yesterday and I saw like a Instagram post from Ryan Preece and it was like, 2024 starts now. And I'm like, I ain't looking at that pit car until January.
Technically, it doesn't start till January 1st.
No, but that you get back and put the work in, but like, man, I'm going to enjoy this. And it's, the new challenge is when we get to 2024, the hardest time for a team is the year after they win a championship. That's why what Jimmy Johnson did was so impressive. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to face that next year with our guys and work through that. But first, yes, the banquet in Nashville, I'm sure it's going to be a hell of a time. Blaney's got a lot of music friends. Dang. Gonna go see Stitch by Mitch and get a mosaic suit made. Hey, so I'm pretty pumped about that. You
manifested that too, by the way.
I did. I've been manifesting a lot of this.
So, what's your idea for a suit?
I was gonna get it like you got for your wedding. You open the suit up and the lining is all the pictures from the year. So I'm picking out some pit crew pictures. There should be 10 or 20 pictures in there of just kind of to document our season in the suit and get a nice fitted tux or suit, whatever Stitch by Mitch recommends.
Oh, Mitch Perkison, check him out.
Yeah.
Now, didn't Joey get bolo ties made of the championship trophy?
They had bolo ties last year. Yeah, I wasn't there, but yeah, I saw them. That was a hell of an idea. I think that
rumor has it that there's some ideas swirling around about a potential tattoo.
Tattoos, yeah.
Would you get one?
I would think about it. It's not off the table for me.
Would you get it?
Not next to my Long John Silver.
Not next to the Long John Silver.
I'd get
Where
it on
would
my
you get one?
Probably
ass cheek.
If I was like getting a matching tattoo with like our team, I would go in like the Blaney spot and like he's got like that leg sleeve.
He's got an entire Darth Vader on his leg.
He's got like an R2D2 Chewbacca leg. But I would just probably put it down there. Some like Because I would be like, yeah, like you don't have to see it all the time, but like, hey, brotherhood.
Right here.
Champs. My Chewbacca leg.
And I feel like that's everybody's gonna be bought in. I think that if like everybody signs off, you just can't not get one.
Oh yeah, I'll just get inked up.
Yeah.
I've already got some.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, I'll put.
What do you think it's gonna be?
I don't know.
I gotta say, it would just be for me a
cup
championship trophy.
Just the silhouette of the trophy.
The Bill France Cup is pretty sick.
It's so sick, dude.
That is a cool looking trophy.
It's so sick. Yeah. Yeah. Nashville's gonna be fun.
Well, you might come back with some new ink after.
Hey, I'll go.
Get it under your eye like a little teardrop.
Like a teardrop. Like, just the
championship trophy.
Just the championship trophy teardrop. That is not the Penske way, bro.
And then stacking over one eyebrow pennies on the other eyebrow.
Oh yeah, get it on my knuckles. No, that wouldn't work.
Nope.
Too many letters.
Yeah, just drop the vowels.
Well,
we're gonna drop the vowels. We're also gonna drop some penny for your thoughts questions.
Let's go.
You guys fired off some good ones. Unfortunately, Danielle's not here to read them. We're on a special location, by the way, today. We're in Off Axis World Headquarters. The guys, Greg Stump and his crew who paints my helmets. We're in transition from NASCAR's studio in the basement, the Hall of Fame, to their new building in Concord. So we needed a spot, and Greg opened the door gladly for us, and we set this thing up, and we're chopping up and giving you the Championship Edition episode. And we're going to give you some Championship Edition answers for Penny for your thoughts. Let's roll it.
From Logan Zachary. Y'all talked a lot about tires on the podcast this week. Obviously, the solution is a softer tire. Until that happens, could NASCAR not give teams as many sets? Now, do you think, let's go to the first part of this. Do you think a softer tire is the answer?
So we did it. Phoenix had a thicker gauge rubber tread compound on this tire, similar to what they had at Martinsville. I believe that's the right direction. With that, I think they need to take some durometer, some softness out. Or make the tire softer. Now I can make a point for one way or the other. I think there's both an argument, but I think that people get infatuated by this more power, less downforce, tires that fall off to nothing argument because there's a couple people on social media that think it's going to be better, or drivers with the loud microphone. When the cars fall off, when the cars are sliding around, you're not going to get the side-by-side racing as consistently as you might think. Because if the car's a handful by yourself, you're not going to drive it door to door next to the freaking guy that's also ass over tea kettle trying to drive his box, not hit the wall either. So I think that people get too hyper-focused on, we got to make tires that fall off to canvas and see who's, the real drivers. All you're going to get is cars that are spaced out, and you might get one or two guys with some longevity in their setup that might blast through the field if you save your tires, quote unquote, the first couple laps of the run. That's the direction the Goodyear's going. That's the direction we're going to try at the test at Phoenix. They're also trying the up-down splitter. We're going to have half the amount of downforce at the test as we had at this race. Now, there are certain tracks that just probably aren't going to provide the best racing, and you guys can probably figure out which ones those are. So NASCAR is going to go down that path. Interested to see how it does. I think my point of view is cars are too heavy. I think they're 200-300 pounds too heavy. They need about 200 more horsepower, and I think that they need to take overall tire off the car because with these wider wheels, they went from 15 to 18. Made the sidewall smaller, but they've also added 1.5 inches of width per tire. So that's 6 inches more rubber on the ground than what we had with a heavier car and essentially less downforce because the transaxle robs some more power than the 4.9-inch did. So if the cars were lighter and they had a little bit less tire on the ground, they would have a closer horsepower to weight ratio as what the previous cars had. So I think you'd be able to slip and slide around a little bit more, but that's way above my pay grade.
Would you make a smaller wheel and tire, or just make the tire smaller?
I would. So I think they can
make the tongue tack patch.
So like the Garage 56 car, they made wider wheels to accommodate a wider tire.
So you just make a narrower wheel?
I think you keep the same wheels and you just make the tread of the tire narrower. But I'm also not a tire engineer, so I don't know how the hell it works.
A Sportsman modified.
It won't be that egregious.
No, I know.
But if you took an inch off the inch and a half that they added, you're going to get somewhat back within reason, just taking overall rubber off the ground.
I don't think,
but
until that happens, could NASCAR give teams like not as many sets? I mean, we didn't give teams many sets for Wilkesboro, right? And they didn't change much.
No, so it's not gonna. If you restart the race on 70 lap old tires, you're not gonna get people smashing into each other.
No,
you get people running into each other and spinning each other out on new tires. When you have some grip and you can attack the corner and you can attack the center of the corner and generate a run. If everybody's slipping, sliding around like Wilkesboro, when Kyle Larson could have lapped the field if it went another 25 laps, is that what we want to do? I don't think so. So
do you?
I'm not really in the corner of like, hey, we need the tires that fall off the canvas and we need 0 pounds of downforce and we need that. So I think that's my argument.
I would say that if you limit the number of tires for the team, the first thing people would do is just start saving tires.
Yeah.
Right? And then you just try to save tires for run. But yeah. Second question. The reason we talk so much about the tires, Logan, is because it's the only thing that touches the track as well.
That's right.
So it makes a big difference. Nathan Dillard. Ooh, for me. Skip, how many beers did you shotgun? None. I just drank them calmly.
What was the beer choice? Busch Lights?
Keystone, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Team got that Keystone sponsorship, and then had a liquor drink or two at the dinner afterwards and smoked a Stogue. So that was Nathan Dillard. Nathan Grant asks, kind of like how Supercross has the red plate, how would you feel if the champ ran a gold roof number the following year as the reigning champ branding?
That'd be pretty cool.
I think it'd be cool too.
Yeah.
F1 does the number one. Don't they do number one?
You have the option to run the number one. You don't have to.
Blaney gave Ross the number one this weekend.
Called him number one, which I don't have a problem with. Ross has got his team to go drive for too. So I appreciate Ross racing hard. Maybe not aero blocking a championship battle potentially or inhibiting that, but hey, it's part of it.
Ross is Florida man all the way. He's gonna you know what you get. You know what you're getting. Listen, I'm on Blaney's team. I'm not mad about it. But Blaney is old school. He don't like blocking. He don't like slide. You don't like short slide jobs, and you don't like air blocking.
And he's pretty vocal about both.
Yep. And hey, this is why I love the sport. This is why I love where we're at as a sport, because 15 years ago, those guys would have went back to the coaches and called each other and talked about it and waved each other by.
Yeah.
And now it's like, nope, I'm winning.
Yeah.
I do love that about the Cup Series. Yes.
So I don't want to get down a rabbit hole. I wish drivers, when they came into the Cup Series, could pick numbers like F1. But the problem is the team has the number that has all the equity and all the stuff, right? Team Penske's always going to have the 2 and 12. Just like Hendrick's always going to have the 24. So I could see the counter argument, but it would be cool to pick your own number, like F1 guys.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when you were going to Spire, it was a big sticking point that you wanted a single-digit number for marketing purposes.
Yeah. So we had to do a little negotiating with Tommy Baldwin to get it because he still had it. But yes, and also 7 was just like my favorite number growing up. So that's just actually coincidental that we got that.
Yeah. Man, it's been a hell of a year.
It has been a hell of a year. And I love people just screaming at us, stacking pennies.
Love it.
Stacking pennies fans at Phoenix. So all the stuff that you guys write, all the stuff you guys say on social media, we see it and we hear it, and we're trying to work and give you guys great content. We got a lot of great stuff planned for next year with some video stuff, and who knows where we go with this thing, but we're only going one way, and that's to the top, to the FRONT, to the front, buddy. So that leaves this last penny stacker of the week, and it's everybody who listens to us. I know that's a cop-out answer, but it's not, because if it wasn't for you guys tuning in, then we probably wouldn't be doing this no way, because we talk to each other enough during the week, so we just wouldn't want to probably record our pod or conversations anyways. but yet we do it for you because we love you and we love the sport in which one of us here now is a champion in.
Let's
One
go.
more time. Congratulations.
Let's go.
One last story for the winter to leave you guys hanging on the edge of your seat until we fire this thing back up next season. We might do a Christmas special. Who knows? Actually, I talked to Eric Amarola. I'm trying to get him to come in the studio too. He's got some cool stories on how his next quote-unquote adventure is coming about, how this one ended, where the phone call came, and where he's going to be spending a little bit of time next year. He's got an interesting story there. So this story, I've been debating it to say on the podcast for a couple of weeks. I believe I've told you this story. I don't know if I have or not. So we were at Texas. This is actually my birthday weekend. So at the race, didn't have tremendous speed. We were a 20th-ish place car. And I got a little bit too high out of turn 2, spun out during the race, slid, didn't really get much damage. But as I was rolling a pit road, right rear tire blew and ripped the quarter panel, ductwork, the crush panel, all the stuff out. And we just rode around, wounded the rest of the day. Slow, second and a half off.
Wounded soldier.
There is nothing that's more cruel and unusual punishment than a driver that made a mistake and has to ride around wounded the rest of the day.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it is the freaking worst. And you feel like everybody in the grandstands is pointing at you, laughing. You know your guys on the box are just like, this no driving son of a bitch, right? So we went another 300 miles.
Oh, man.
And I'm just, and meanwhile, I'm in my head like, are you ever going to be good at this? Are you ever going to get success? Are you ever going to win a race? And the answer's like, no. Just sitting there like pouting, right? No.
You suck.
Yeah.
You jackass.
Yeah. So I get out of the car and I put my head down. And I go to the plane. I'm sitting on the plane. I'm making my notes, right? And I'm like going through this like infinite amount of things I could have done different. Why did you try running up that high? You know the PJ1 wasn't activated. All this stuff. So I've got my ear pods in. I'm listening. I'm just like listening to nothing. It's just stewing, right? And halfway asleep, halfway not. And the landing gear comes out, and it kind of like half wakes me up, but I wasn't really sleeping. And I heard like it was on my phone playing music. I heard the Holy Spirit say, "Are you done trying to do it yourself?" So I like looked around. I was like, Kelly was sitting next to me. I was like looking at her like, did you say that? And I was like looking around. I had like write it down because it was that clear.
Yeah.
It was, are you done trying to do it yourself? And I like did a quiet time trying to figure out what is this? I write it all out. I'm thinking about it for days, right? It was just like on the front of my brain. Are you done trying to do it yourself? Are you done trying to do it yourself? So it was, I kind of come to like, I've asked the Lord to come into like all these different areas of my life, my marriage, my friendships, my parenting, all this stuff. And it's easy to do that because you realize really quickly you don't have what it takes to like manage all of it and do it well and like, you know, do all the stuff that you want to do it the right way without some help. One thing I haven't done is invite the Lord into like physically driving. Like you say your prayer protection, but like, all right, dude, I got this. I've been doing it my entire life. Let me go figure it out. So there's still more to the story, right? And rarely have I just asked the Lord to like, all right, I'm done trying to do it myself. Give me some help here in the actual act of driving. So fast forward a week, we go to Talladega. We qualified the second to worst car. And there's not much that more chaps my ass than qualifying terrible to super speedway.
No.
So Saturday after qualifying, I am sour. Like in the bus watching College Game Day.
You were so mad. I got yelled at about it.
Dude, I was just in a piss poor mood. There's a freaking Halloween special going on in the DO lot, and all these kids are dressed up for Halloween, and I'm just like a potato on the couch.
You're like them Scrooge McDuck for Halloween.
I was.
Bah humbug.
And Kelly was outside with Levi, and Levi's going around trick or treat, and Kelly's like, get your ass out here and stop pouting. And I said, we're qualified second to last. We're freaking terrible. We're going to get lapped 5 times tomorrow. We're that slow. And she's like, did you forget that what you heard like 6 days ago? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that was last week. He was talking about last week. It wasn't talking about this week. She's like, just come out here and stop being a sourpuss. So luckily, I get on the tractor for a hayride, and that tractor went just about as fast as my race car didn't qualify, and so I had time to think about, and I was wrestling with it. Levi's got his candy basket, this, that, and the other thing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm done trying to do it myself. Show me something. I sit in the car on Sunday, buckle up, pull the belts tight, and I said, all right, we qualified second to last. I am done trying to do it myself. Sure enough, we qualified, or we turned around and finished fourth. So that is how I kind of finished the year of like, all right, I'm done trying to do it myself. But there's a lot of things in my life that I've applied that to now of like trying to not do it myself. And I would encourage everybody that listens to this podcast, there's probably an area of your life that you're probably trying to do it yourself. So this off season, try to figure out what that is and tune back into us next year or next week or whenever we drop another one of these. Be on the lookout. If there's anything good, we're coming at you with some stuff. This is Stacking Pennies presented by Mobile One, guys. Ryan Flores 2023 Cup Series Front Tire Changer champion.
Let's go.
Corey LaJoie. This is it. Appreciate you guys.